Hey everybody, Rachel Bogle here at the WMBF News First Alert Desk. We've made it to Wednesday. Hopefully nice and dry after all of the storms coming in through today. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get through some of the big stories we are watching for you today. As always, I do have the Facebook stream up here. So as you're joining, feel free to just get in the comments, say hello, let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions or you just want to chime in about any of these stories, feel free to do so there in the comments. And I will be able to kind of follow up with you, answer any questions you might have. We can just kind of interact as we go. All right, let's start with this one. So this is the latest chapter here in the Spivey case. So we are following the latest now in a civil lawsuit connected to that deadly 2023 road rage shooting here in Horry County that has received a lot of press, even on the national level now. So one of the defendants is now looking to put a pause on legal proceedings. So Kenneth Williams was a passenger in Weldon Boyd's truck when Boyd allegedly shot and killed Scott Spivey along Camp Swamp Road in Longs, again back in 2023. So now Williams has filed a motion for a stay in those proceedings related to the lawsuit brought against them by Spivey's sister, Jennifer Foley. So she filed that personal injury lawsuit against both Boyd and Williams in June of last year after the South Carolina Attorney General's office declined to file criminal charges against the two men for that shooting, with the AG's office citing insufficient evidence. So back to the new filing. So Williams filed that motion because he says the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division won't confirm or deny if he is involved or the subject in that SLED investigation into misconduct allegations against former Horry County Deputy Chief Brandon Strickland. So that motion says, quote, there's no indication from SLED when their investigation will be concluded and the possibility of prosecution removed from this defendant, talking about Williams. It also states that Williams believes Foley will not be burdened if a judge grants that stay in the case. So we will let you know what the judge decides. They have not made a ruling on this just yet, so we'll be sure to follow up when that comes down. All right, so on to this next one here. Stephen Schlink was on this for us today, and a lot of folks have been speaking out about this and kind of sharing concerns. You're going to see why in just a minute if you're not already following this story with us today. So Myrtle Beach police have charged 4 people in connection to a string of armed robberies beginning yesterday evening and then going all the way into early this morning. And you're taking a look at this map here showing you where all they were spread really across the Myrtle Beach area. So officers say that first robbery happened in a parking lot near Broadway at the beach. Of course, a very popular tourist spot there where people like to go with their families, really day and night when there's a lot going on there. So again, it happened in the parking lot when 2 people were robbed at gunpoint near their car, again, parked outside. So police say that second robbery happened near the subway on North Ocean Boulevard, where 2 people are accused of robbing someone with a gun, again, in a parking lot. Then on to the third one, police say 2 people reportedly tried to get into a man's car near Johnny D's along North Kings Highway in North Myrtle Beach, but that victim actually managed to drive away. And then moving a little bit further north here, that 4th alleged robbery happened along Colonial Drive when the suspects are accused of forcing a man at gunpoint to withdraw money from an ATM. And then moving not far away there for that 5th alleged robbery, police say the last one happened on 65th Avenue North when someone robbed a woman, again at gunpoint. So at this point, all we know is Myrtle Beach police have 4 people arrested in connection to these incidents. At this point, though, the names and any additional information have not been released. So of course, we will keep you posted as soon as we get that information. All right, so this next story is one that our Ian Klein was on for us today, and we are getting new details as investigators are looking into what sparked that overnight fire at an abandoned Myrtle Beach motel. So firefighters were called out to the vacant Coral Sands Motel, I guess the former Coral Sands Motel at this point, along Ocean Boulevard. That was around 3 this morning. Myrtle Beach Fire Rescue says that motel had been boarded up for quite some time now when it was damaged by the flames. Crews were able to get that fire under control and save the buildings around it as well. We're told no one was hurt. That fire, though, remains under investigation. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the city of Myrtle Beach says this structure actually was already set to be demolished on Thursday of this week, and we're told that demolition was already planned and is not connected to this fire. But again, they are still going to work to figure out what caused this fire in the first place. So we will let you know what happens with that. Going to pop myself up here for just a moment because we will have one mugshot to show you here. So I'm going to get to that in just a minute as I'm kind of moving things along here. So this is actually an update to a story we've been following for you out in the PD. So the Florence County Sheriff's Office says deputies have a man in custody tonight accused of killing a security guard and hurting 6 other people during a nightclub shooting over the weekend. So you're taking a look at some of the aftermath outside that club. So Sheriff TJ Joy confirms Brandon Cross, who you see here, is charged with murder in connection to the death of 39-year-old Melvin Gibson Sunday night at Culture Bistro. Sheriff Joy says Cross was with a group of people who apparently had prior run-ins with Gibson, who again was a security guard at the club. And because of apparent previous issues and trouble he'd had with that group, or that group had had while at the club, Gibson did not let them in. After being turned away, the Sheriff Joy says that group went into the parking lot, grabbed weapons. They said 3 people grabbed weapons, to be specific, and then there was a shootout in the parking lot, which left Gibson dead. The sheriff also tells us, in addition, of course, to Brandon Cross, who again facing a murder charge right now, the sheriff says there is likely to be more arrests in this case. So this is something we are going to closely continue following for you and let you know when and if more arrests are made, who those individuals are once those are named. So again, a lot to follow with that one, and we will keep you posted. All right, let's lighten things up. What do you say? Let's talk some sports. The Coastal Carolina University softball team is on the road looking to make history. So the Chanticleers defying the odds last weekend when they won the Sun Belt Conference Championship. Now the team is on the way to Durham after securing an automatic bid to the NCAA Division I Regionals for the first time since 2012. Our Mary Margaret Ellison was on this story for us today, kind of speaking with some of those players about their excitement going into this big weekend. But to get here, first, the Chants swept the tournament last weekend to secure again the Sun Belt Conference Championship, upsetting number 2 Marshall, number 3 Louisiana, and then taking down number 9 at James Madison. Looking ahead, though, Coastal's first game will be this Friday at 2:30 against Georgia, and we are cheering them on and wishing them well. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the forecast before we get going on to what we are following for you new at 11. So if your grass is not green yet, I don't know what to tell you, because we have just seen so much rain, certainly much needed rain, and we're not quite done. Most of the showers have moved out, but there are still a couple more waves that we could see overnight. It just kind of depends on where you are. So Jenna Greenhill was saying that really you're going to see some of that late into the night and then kind of right before you wake up if you do see some showers and storms near you. But after that, we're going to be ushering in some drier, warmer weather to round out the week. So really a little bit of something for everyone. By the time you wake up tomorrow, our First Alert Weather team says most of those showers and storms will be working their way offshore, and then we're really going to be cranking up the heat tomorrow, as you can see there. So we're going to crank things up, temperatures in about the mid 80s along the beaches, then upper 80s inland, and then get ready for the warmest weekend of the year so far, thanks to really that summer-like steamy humidity, and thanks to that, it's going to feel more like we are in about the mid to upper 90s, depending on where you are over the weekend. So maybe not a bad weekend to go hang out by the pool if you can. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what we are watching for you new at 11, starting with this one. And actually, it is a bit of an update here related to some of the storms we saw today. Today's storms have forced at least one person here in the Grand Strand out of their home, unfortunately, tonight. Horry County Fire Rescue tells us they believe lightning is to blame for that fire, that small fire around 6:30 this evening on the roof of a home along Starlit Way in Carolina Forest. So we're told firefighters have since been able to put out that fire, and the American Red Cross has stepped in to help the person who, again, is now displaced from that home. I'm going to pop myself up here for this last new at 11 story we have for you. We don't have video for it right now, so I'll just tell you what we know. So, a PD childcare facility is facing some disturbing allegations of abuse. A lawsuit filed today claims staff at the Marian Baptist Church daycare acted with, quote, gross negligence back in January of this year, when those staff members allegedly tied a toddler into a high chair for hours and ignored that little boy's repeated cries for help. So we have reached out to the daycare for comment on this pending lawsuit as of tonight. We are still waiting for a response, but we will let you know when and if we hear back. Again, we're going to be following that for you new at 11. And that really is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more where that comes from. So hopefully you're able to stay up just a little bit longer with us when we join you back on air tonight for WMBF News at 11. But for now, that'll do it for this update from the WMBF News First Alert Desk. See you back on air soon. Take care.